Well, a pleasant good afternoon and welcome to 7 Eyewitness News right here on WIN TV. I'm your host, Sheldon Yearwood. Thank you for joining us and welcome to online viewers at wintvworld.com. We're coming to you live from Launch Park in Chaguanas. Well, election fever is in the air. Of course, we're referring directly to the COP internal elections. Now, that fever, well, things are going to get pretty hot over the next few days, next week or so, as of course the COP plans to host a bunch of meetings leading up to the elections. Today, they held their press conference to outline the rules of the election process and also calling on all members of the COP to basically scrutinize very carefully those who they wish to represent at the various posts within the party. Now, we are very much familiar with what has been happening with the COP over the past couple of years. They have grown from a very small party and, of course, a formidable force now within the partnership. However, they have had their challenges. Of course, challenges as a member of the partnership, as well as challenges within the party itself. It was just last week, over the weekend, that the Minister of Sport called on the chairman, Joseph Tony, to step down. That is one key position that people would be looking at to see, of course, if Mr. Tony can retain his position as the chairman or if someone else would take the party forward. And I actually have with me here some of the documentation that came out of the press conference this morning. And as I mentioned, the term moving forward, interestingly enough, the theme for this year's elections entitled Moving to the Next Level. Now the question is, what is that next level? Next level, of course, you can look from various points of views. Next level in terms of building the party. Next level in terms of, the party's representation within the government. And there's so many things, of course, even though they are part of a partnership government, they are still a separate entity in terms of a political party. Many have questioned the strength of the COP, and time again, you see the numbers growing and growing. And of course, I know for a fact that they would like to be a greater force in terms of representing the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And this particular election's very crucial to see if they can actually do that and, of course, be the force that they wish to be. So later on during the course of the program, we're actually going to give you the speech made by the chairman of the Election Commission, Mr. Valence Rambarat, and of course you hear some of the details in terms of time, places to vote, etc., and of course leading up to the night. Now the 3 days for the debate series, which of course will be the public meetings, they're as follows. Thursday, 18th of October, of course that's this week at Gaston Court, Chaguanas, which is just a stone's throw away from right here in WIN TV. On Tuesday, 23rd October, Palms Club, San Fernando. Now, all the times are around 7:30. First one, 7:30 p.m. The second one, 7:20 p.m. That's Palms Club, San Fernando. And the third one is Thursday, 25th of October at the Tunapuna Hindu School at 7:20 p.m. So again, critical time for the COP as they move forward. Well, last night a meeting was held in Port of Spain, where certain issues were raised by the Minister of National Security, Jack Warner, and the Commissioner of Police, Acting Commissioner of Police, Mr. Stephen Williams. Now, Minister Warner, of course, responded to the situation surrounding death threats against the Prime Minister and even the leader of the opposition, Dr. Keith Rowley. And he stated that even though he was privy to the threat, he did not want to make the same mistake that he made with the leader of the opposition and the backlash that came with that when the announcement was made public. So you're going to hear what he had to say last night based on that situation coming up in just a short while. Meanwhile, the file surrounding Mr. Colin Paratap has not been submitted as yet, and that announcement was made by Mr. Stephen Williams, that's of course seen in there, also who was in attendance at the meeting as they continue to address the crime problem in Trinidad and Tobago. And speaking of dealing with crime, today the minister, of course, embarked on rolling out an employment scheme for the residents of Laventille and surrounding areas, and a lot of people came out to basically hopefully get this form of employment to deal with some, of course, their concerns that they've been facing. The only tricky thing with this is that in the initial stage, from what I understand, will be just around 200 or so. They'll be hiring an initial stage, and then they will continue it more from there. So again, what we have to, of course, continue following up on this story to see how all this develops. So again, it's in a phase basis. Of course, as it unfolds, you're going to get more information on that as well. Well, we broke a story last evening right here during our 7 p.m. evening edition of the news, where the former Minister of Tourism, Mr. Joseph Ross, was robbed at gunpoint on the Beetham Highway after his car broke down. Of course, he was robbed of a cellular phone, cash, I think, value close to around $10,000, but he was unhurt. Of course, a report was made to the nearby police station. All right, of course, he lost his seat back in 2010 to Dr. Fuad Khan. So lots happening in the news, as I mentioned to you later on. We're going to show you that statement made by the Election Commission chairman, again, as we get ready for the COP internal election. It's a big election indeed, because again, it will basically pave the way for the COP to determine if they can truly be a greater force than they are currently, and also to rebuild from some of the missteps within the party or what has been happening again, and even more critical, what has been happening internally in the party. I think that is something that the members are very, very concerned about, and of course they have all right to be, because this is the party that they believe in, and of course would like to take them forward even to one day possibly forming the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Let's take a break. When we come back, we go into our news. Stay tuned. Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News right here on OWIN TV. Thank you for joining us. Before we go into the major news that's taking place today, we are going to try and make contact with the Minister of Health, Dr. Fuad Khan, to address this ongoing problem at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex, and it is really having a serious impact on the patients. As we saw in the newspaper today, PSA protests, delays by the NCRHA staff sick out at hospital. We addressed this issue some time ago with the minister when they were talking about outsourcing and so forth. Things have intensified now. Now we're seeing that patients are being left to suffer because of what's happening with the staff sick out. So we're going to try and make contact with the minister. Once we get him on the line, we'll ask him to address this situation as well. Let's go now to the first story at this point in time. Well, with the debates between the Congress of the People members set to take place from tomorrow, the COP called a conference today to address electoral concerns. Chairman of the Elections Commission, Valence Rambarat, urged the public to follow the debate and scrutinize its members. Rambarat strengthened the effectiveness of having these debates as part of the selection process.
The concept of political debates. We feel strongly that it is good to put competing politicians on the same platform so that they can debate issues and reduce the incidence of political rhetoric and character assassination. We have 21 candidates who will be all present on one platform, presenting their campaign statements, debating, answering questions from the membership, answering questions from the media. And we feel at the end of the day, they will be well scrutinized so that the membership can make an informed decision about who they want to lead in this, for the Congress of the People for the next 2 years.
With this new format, the Commission hopes to change the way politics is viewed by the public, aspiring to take politics to the next level. Rambarat hopes that everyone can come on board, adding that since it was first used in the electing of the leader of the party, Prakash Ramadan, last year, no complaints have been made. The chairman stated also that for this campaigning period, they have implemented a $5,000 cap for each candidate through a much larger sum is put in for the debate series that commences in October.
Small sum of $5,000. But that sum is important because the Congress of the People spends the money to host the campaign platforms, the debate series. We are spending as a party close to $200,000 to create the opportunity for candidates to be heard by the membership.
Of course, that will be commencing, of course, on October 18th, 2012. The first three-part series of the debate takes place at Gaston Court, as I mentioned, in Chaguanas from 7:30 tomorrow evening. Well, National Security Minister Jack Warner says he was afraid to go public with information that Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar has been threatened, in addition to being advised by the police to keep quiet. Warner said he wanted to avoid a similar fallout when he publicized death threats to opposition leader Dr. Keith Rowley.
Need for me to go public after the abuse I suffered from Mr. Rowley. I became very cautious, but the fact is that the police were on top of it, and we all agreed to keep it low, right, and not put it in the public domain. For again, this is a very cynical society. They say you're playing politics. So I said to keep it low, and let us do what we have to do.
On Monday, a porter at the Piarco International Airport appeared in court charged with crime related to the death threats made against Mrs. Persad-Bissessar. Warner said he had been briefed on the matter.
He called twice, and he made these threats, and they were able to intercept the phone call, and they were able to find out that he worked at the airport, and to work in a sensitive area as the airport, and to make those foolish kind of threats. One has to take it seriously. So I think the police are on it, and I don't want to say much more. It's in the court, and that's where I leave it.
In some other news, about the file on the police incident involving MP Colin Partab still has not been submitted to the Director of Public Prosecution, Roger Gaspar, SC, and Acting Commissioner of Police Stephen Williams is assuring there is nothing dubious about it. Williams had previously indicated that the file would have been submitted by Monday.
This way, I in fact indicated to the media that I am projecting by the 15th of October, I would be in a position to submit the file to the DPP. On the 15th of October, there was one outstanding document for my submission. I'm still awaiting on it, but I give the assurance by the end of the week that file will be with the DPP.
2 months ago, Partab was arrested by police near the Zen nightclub. He was later taken to the Belmont police station after it was alleged he refused to take a breathalyzer test. Partab was then fired as a junior minister by Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Williams, who spoke to reporters on Tuesday night, said he could not say more on the matter.
Explaining all the details in relation to the inquiry and all, because at the end of the day I'll be prosecuting the matter in the public domain, and that wouldn't be proper, right? So I've given the media that assurance, and that's what I'll be doing.
In some other news, Attorney General Alan Ramlogan SC says government intends to sue Chief Secretary Orville London and the Tobago House of Assembly. Ramlogan spoke during the budget debate this morning. He says the decision to sue comes in light of the THA's multi-million-dollar deal with a lease-back deal with a company called Milshriv Limited. Ramlogan said London and the THA violated Section 51 of the THA Act in the entering into the bolt arrangement with the company in which the Rahel family has a stake.
Minister of Finance bring a claim and file legal action against Mr. London and the THA to seek a declaration from the court that Section 51 was violated and the actions of Mr. London and the THA was illegal in entering into that boat arrangement for Milshriv Complex.
Ramlogan said London had no legal authority to enter into the deal. He added that there were many unanswered questions, especially in light of the fact that there was no tendering.
How did these people know that Orville London want an office complex in the first place to come and approach him with the proposal? How did he know? This man had this piece of land and suddenly he had a vision or a dream. And he get up with a vaps and just jump out of the pajama zone, run down the road and say, Orville, I hear a dream last night. You want a complex to put the agriculture division in, and I'll go build it for you. How does man know that? This is a strange case of political telepathy.
In some other news, crime does not discriminate. Well, this is something that former Tourism Minister Joseph Ross learned last evening. This as he was robbed at gunpoint on the Beetham Highway. Ross was proceeding west along the Beetham Highway when, on reaching approximately 500 feet east of the Beetham dump, his vehicle broke down. Within seconds, a lone gunman walked up to him and proceeded to rob him of $3,800 in cash. his BlackBerry and other personal items amounting to approximately $10,000. The man then escaped, running across the highway into the Beetham estate. It was reported that Mr. Ross was not physically hurt in the ordeal. A report was subsequently made to the Besson Street Police Station, and investigations are continuing. Ross was a former member of Parliament for Barataria San Juan before losing Dr. Fuad Khan in 2010 general elections. In response, National Security Minister Jack Warner said the former minister was pleased with the response of the police.
Not only that, but he came to see me and he commended the Besson Street Police very highly. He said their work was commendable. He praised them to the heavens for what they did last night.
In an interview with the media earlier, Minister Warner said he would like to see more work like this from police officers.
And I believe that is the kind of thing I would like to see more and more about in terms of the police response and the fact that the public, the people, particularly Joseph Ross, he was very happy with the work that they did.
Well, in some more crime news, 2 men have been found executed in a motor car in St. Joseph. Around 11:30 last night, a team of officers acting on information went to Farm Road and saw a green Mazda motor car parked with its engine running on a gravel track opposite the St. Joseph Secondary School. The 2 men were seen in the front passenger seat and the driver's seat with gunshot wounds to their heads. They were identified as brothers 32-year-old Rudolph and 23-year-old Dimitri Chambers. Rudolph lived in Tobago whilst Dimitri lived at Bedesi Street, St. Augustine. Investigators believe that the killer may have also been a passenger of the vehicle based on the angle of the wounds. Officers have not established a motive for this double homicide. Visiting the scene were Inspector Mark Maharaj, WP Sergeant Mitchell, and officers of the Northern Division and Homicide Bureau. The murder toll now stands at 322. And 123 grams of marijuana has been found hidden in various parts of the San Juan market. Officers from the Northeastern Division Task Force carried out an exercise yesterday and locked down the market. The officers also held a 34-year-old San Juan man with 34 grams of cocaine. The officers also found a camouflage army jacket and a bulletproof vest in an abandoned house in Mova. The exercise was supervised by ASP Mahabir and Corporal Sunil Bharat, PCs Furlong and Ford. I guess he got a bit confused. I mean, when you're selling herbs in the market, not that type of herbs. Anyhow, let's take a break. When we come back, lots more news. Stay tuned. Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News right here on WIN TV. Let's continue with more news at this time. Well, with millions around the world suffering from the drastic effects of poverty, World Poverty Eradication Day was established on today, 19 years ago. Earlier today, the Ministry of the People and Social Development held their poverty reduction program at the St. Finbarr's RC Church in Diego Martin. The Minister, Dr. Glenn Ahmed Singh, addressed the audience of students from various schools in the area as they made presentations in commemoration of the event. At the program themed Youth Let Your Voice Be Heard, Ahmed Singh spoke of the issue of poverty and the dire effects on our society.
We need to get even more serious about eradicating extreme poverty because it leads to human suffering, it leads to disease, it leads to malnutrition of children, and it leads to a weaker society.
Ahmed Singh stated that education is key to escaping the poverty-stricken life, adding that the government has been doing what it can as he outlined the initiatives they have been taking on to combat poverty in our country.
Education is the surest way out of poverty, but you can do many other things. But not everyone, there's not a lot of room for the Brian Laryas and the Marshall Montanos and Dwight Yorks and all the other stars. But you, if you have your dream, you can make it happen. The programs that we have with the URP Social to help the mothers who have cerebral palsy children to have an income so that they can support their children. And the new program where we will have for single mothers of large families, where we will train them through DVD instructional videos about self-empowerment, self-development, self-esteem, maths and English alphanumeric skills they will learn at home because they have 3 and 4 children and they cannot leave the house. Those are the programs that will change the dimensions of poverty in Trinidad and Tobago.
And staying on that same trend of also dealing with issues surrounding poverty, well, a promise of jobs for persons in Laventille and environs will be made a reality from as early as next week. The Ministry of National Security today launched its People and Projects for Progress program, lots of P's there, at the St. Paul's Street Community Center in Port of Spain. Scores of residents turned up to register for the program. Nicole Duki tells us more.
Government is continuing its thrust to curb the spiraling crime situation. One such initiative is the provision of jobs for persons living in areas known for crime. National Security Minister Jack Warner has been hosting a series of community meetings in such areas where he has been listening to the concerns of residents. They all had the same concern. Many of them are unemployed and are unable to get jobs. In light of this, the Ministry of National Security this morning launched its People and Projects for Progress program at the St. Paul's Street Community Center in Port of Spain. Minister Warner told the residents members of the army would manage the program.
And tell all of those people who are standing on the sidelines hoping to extort money from you that that is a thing of the past.
The program is also being done in collaboration with the Ministry of Local Government and the Ministry of Planning and Sustainable Development. It will see the development of East Port of Spain, which government has been working towards. Minister Warner explained that the program will be expanded to other areas across the country.
This program will be carried out in all the other areas like Maloney, Carapo, and Central, and so on, and Carenage.
The National Security Minister, however, told the interested persons that there is one thing they would have to adhere to.
But anybody who commits a criminal offense or anybody who is charged by the police while this project is going on and is employed, it will affect negatively his or her employment.
Some of the work to be done will be the refurbishment of buildings and landscaping. Reporting for 7 Eyewitness News, I am Nicole Duki.
And well, meanwhile, National Security Minister Jack Warner says residents from Duncan and Nelson Streets will not be left out of the loop. This has received confirmation from Managing Director of the Housing Development Corporation, Geraldine John, that they were scheduled to employ residents as early as today.
Duncan Street, perimeter fencing, rehabilitation and repair. Nelson Street, garbage receptacle installation. George Street, repaving of car parks and walkways. Prince Street, landscaping, external plumbing, apron and slipper drains, beginning from this morning.
Residents in these areas staged protest action last week demanding jobs. Their protest action came following a visit by the National Security Minister 2 weeks before. During his visit, Warner promised the residents that jobs would be provided for them. In some other news now, a formal complaint has been made by EMPA to the Minister of Health against the CEO of the NWRHA, Mrs. Judith Baliram Ramutar. This after they stated she refused to allow EMPA to meet its members in the doctor's lounge at the Port of Spain General Hospital on Friday, October 12, 2012, to highlight their concerns to the union. They stated her refusal came after approval had already been granted by both the hospital administrator, Mr. Kumar Budaram, and the medical director, Dr. Suresh Purang. In their letter of complaint, EMPA pointed out to the health minister that the CEO was in breach of the constitutional right of the association and assembly, as well as the rights granted by the RHA Act and the RHA Conduct Rules and Regulation. Now, the rules state, employees may form an association which may be registered as a trade union or may join a trade union, and nothing in these regulations shall affect an employee's right to participate actively in any meeting called or sign any petition prepared by the union or staff association on matters with which the union or staff association is competent to deal, end quote. They stated by Mrs. Baliram Ramutar actions, it has sought to disenfranchise citizens of this country of the enshrined rights given by the Constitution and by the Act. EMPA says the complaints of the Joint Trade Union movement of poor industrial relations by the People's Partnership Government is exemplified by Mrs. Baliram Ramutar's behavior, attitude, and disposition. EMPA would further like to inform the public that the same NWRHA board chaired by Dr. Edison Hayek with Judith Baliram Ramata as CEO has been obtuse and disrespectful. They said that it is the only regional health authority board that has not met with MPAT since the People's Partnership government came into office. MPAT stated they have met with the SWRHA, the ERHA, and the NCRHA. They also written to the Minister of Labour and stated they will be writing to the Prime Minister concerning this matter. And in some other news, Minister of the People and Social Development says poverty has been reduced under the current administration. Minister Glenn Amadar Singh responding to Senator Ralph Balgobin's claim that wealth is not evenly distributed in Trinidad and Tobago yesterday during the budget debate. Balgobin said there were people who were evading paying taxes while living it up Gangnam style.
Is missing from that is that when we came into government, those figures were 21%, in some areas 24 and 28, as high as 30 in some areas. And we are now speaking about a figure of about 16 to 17%.
Well, in some other news now, a company called Superior Industrial Services Limited has been awarded multi-million-dollar contracts by several state companies. According to Opposition Senator Fitzgerald Hines, that company is very familiar to the government. We have more in this report from Judy Kanhai.
Opposition Senator Fitzgerald Hines is calling on Attorney General Anil Ramlogan to investigate corruption at several state companies. First, Hines says Superior Industrial Services Limited was awarded a $49 million contract for the Siparia Market facility. The contract, he says, was originally $36 million, was awarded by the Palo Seco Agricultural Services Limited.
If you're working in big shot people place and you are a little contractor, you're very happy for the world to know. But when the media and other people went to see who was doing the work on the site of this residence in Philippines, they found, it was reported to me, that the logo, the company logo on the doors was sprayed out on the trucks and everything. They're hiding the fact that they were doing work at a certain well-known, expensive mansion in the Philippines. SIS don't only operate with the PSA here, you know. They're in WASA too. So when I tell you my friends over here, Minister George, is he gone? He was Minister of Public Utilities in charge of WASA.
Speaking during the budget debate in Senate, Hines says SIS contracts didn't stop there. They were hired by WASA after bidding for a $65 million project.
They bid $65 million, but they got the contract in WASA for $69 million. It took the acting CEO, Wandian Abdul, to come in and to cancel the contract. I want the Attorney General to investigate that.
But Minister of the Environment and Water Resources, Ganga Singh, who is the former CEO of WASA, says the matter is actually under investigation.
I remember when this matter was brought to my attention, I indicated to the board I want a report. The board has indicated that there was interference in the process because it is a cyber interference, and because they were using the analytical hierarchy system. They have enlisted the services of Deloitte and Touche to investigate this matter.
But the opposition MP wasn't prepared to let the minister off the hook so easily.
You see all he explained there? At the bottom line, it was corruption. See, I am submitting that they are murdering the taxpayers of this country in WASA, murdering us.
And the WASA scandal continues.
Ish Galvarancing Company, I'm not pulling any punches. He just rented 50 cars to WASA, ongoing contract, even while matters were pending. It is said to me that most of the directors have businesses that doing business and inside and with WASA, doing their own business through WASA and murdering the taxpayers of this country.
Judy Kanhai, 7 Eyewitness News.
And well, from that heated debate, they're sticking with state companies. The Agricultural Development Bank and its chairman is also being scrutinized. Opposition Senator Fitzgerald Hines is accusing Chairman Rudy Mirage of poor governance and mismanagement.
Matters in the bank, interviewing staff alone, receiving resumes, he alone, behaving like an executive chairman.
And he also spoke about the ADB's wild spending spree.
$6,000 for a product launch. Sorry, they budgeted $200,000. He oversaw $600,000 expenditure on the matter. Independence decorations for 2012 cost the company $400,000 ADB when they had budgeted $40,000. These are things I want you to investigate. All the printing for the bank is done by a printry owned by the chairman.
Now, his comments on the irregularities at state companies actually comes one day after the planning minister said all state boards were being reviewed by the cabinet. Let's take a break. When we come back, we go to your calls at 665-6278. That's 665-6270 right here on Win TV. Stay tuned. Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News. Just to let the public a quick reminder, those complaints that we got even today about no water in some areas and interesting enough water came in for a pounding today during the Senate debate. Those complaints have been forwarded to the authorities, so let me know based on your area. I want you to send me information if you receive any water within the next couple of days, so let's say by weekend. All right. I want to get a very disturbing text that came in here, and if this is indeed true, I have no mercy whatsoever with what the minister will do with these individuals if after being investigated. I'm going to bust the files in just a short while. Caller, you're on the air. That's Darby on the line. Darby, good evening. Good afternoon, sorry.
Good afternoon, Sheldon.
Good afternoon.
Sheldon, I want to start on a positive note. I want to compliment the Minister of National Security, Mr. Jack Warner, for finding employment for the young men and young women in St. Paul Street and Besson Street. That is well done. I also want to say to the Attorney General that I compliment him because he's looking after Professor Ken Julian, Mr. Malcolm Jones, Mr. Calder Hart, Professor Copeland, and now Mr. London and the THA. But I want to say to the goodly AG that Section 34 is not going to go away. He has to answer the question. Just as Professor Julian and Malcolm Jones, they have questions to answer. I have no problem with that. But Attorney General, you have a big question to answer. Why was Section 34 proclaimed, notwithstanding the assurances given that it would not be proclaimed before all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed? You have a big question in Trinidad and Tobago to answer, where the justice system has been compromised by your action, Attorney General. Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. Let's continue to calls. Cokerate, you're on the air. Good evening. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, good evening.
Hello, good evening. Yeah, good evening. Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, good evening. Go ahead.
Still on?
Yeah, you're on the air. Go ahead. Good evening.
Right. I want to suggest to you, brother, that all life is sacred. And the leader of the UNC, that situation was handled very professionally. But the leader of the PNM, it was handled in a way as if they were trying to set up the political leader of the PNM. That was handled, it was broadcasted all over the place so that moves could be made to endanger the life and family of the leader of the opposition. You see how nice they handled the leader of the UNC, handled the leader of the PNM so too, because all life is sacred. And I want to ask you why they were handled differently. I know why. And maybe even the race card could be played there too. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Very strong allegations being made there. But the minister, of course, did turn around and say, well, as you heard earlier on, that he didn't want to make that same mistake or have the same fallout from what happened with the leader of the opposition. Let's continue with your calls. Caller on the air. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you going?
I'm all right.
Now, tell you, what is the problem with Section 34? As far as I am concerned, Section 34 is a good piece of law. Though it might have been proclaimed before they said when it should have been proclaimed, but you must understand the number of people rotting in jail that have not been properly charged. I find it is time that Section 34 be enacted. It should not have been repealed, and let the law take its course. There are too many people suffering in prison. just because it's Galbara and say, oh, you call names were involved, everybody making a fuss. If the names were not involved, you would have had no fuss over Section 34. Thank you.
Let me just say this, though. Good intentions, in terms of the Section 34, that's what they are, good intentions. But if things are not put in place properly, then therefore what could actually be a very good measure, and indeed it is, can find ourselves in a very deep problem in terms of the law with the situation that took place with Ish and Steve and others in terms of the proclamation of it being too early. So I understand your point. Of course, the reason behind Section 34, very good reason. But if, again, as we always say, if we don't cross all our T's and dot all our I's, we're going to find ourselves actually doing, more harm than good. So this is something we need to look at when any sort of policy, any policy making, we need to make sure and look into these fine print because, as I say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So we have to be very mindful how we do things and make sure that all our bases are covered and all our corners are basically marked properly. And of course, so there will be no loopholes like what took place recently. All right, look, let's continue to go. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Sheldon.
Pleasant good afternoon to you.
I want to refer to Mr. Ross. Could you please remind us what Mr. Ross' portfolio is on government side?
Tourism at the time.
He is what? The minister in the Ministry of Tourism.
He was the minister.
Because the Minister of Tourism is Mr. Stephen Cadiz.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Ross is in the Ministry of the Tourism.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Right. Now, Mr. Ross was robbed on Beetham Gardens, or Beetham
on the highway,
in the area of Beetham Gardens.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Sheldon, how much more will it take for citizens to cry out for the highway patrols? This is my plea, another plea for the Ministry of National Security to please put out highway patrols on our nation's highways and byways. Does it have to take a minister in the Ministry of Tourism to be accosted by some highway robbers?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really and truly, this is too much. Do it, please, Mr. Minister of National Security. Put out the highway patrols. Please. Thank you, Sheldon.
And this is a plea that I've been hearing from many people, and particularly a lot of motorists as well. On the other hand, now I know for a fact that they are planning to unroll a highway patrol. Well, actually, more highway patrols. I'm not sure when though, but I'm sure that your words will fall on the ears of the minister soon, because I know his advisor watches the program quite often as well. So I'm definitely going to, hold him to that, to get the message on to Minister Warner. All right? Let's continue to call. Caller on the air. Go ahead.
Good evening, Sheldon.
Yes, good day.
I'm calling about, I heard a caller just now with the Clause 34.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like you to do some research into the Daily Express Friday, November 20th, 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And you will see a letter there. I don't know if the gentleman remembers it. But at that stage, he was asking, he says, I'm speaking about the indifference of those who can make a difference, who are entrusted and remunerated to do better, and of the consequential injustices of delay in bringing an accused man to trial within a reasonable time. Justice is never ever served when cases are delayed or die stillborn. You know who wrote that letter? 2009? Mr. Sheldon.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Herbert Volney signed it off. So it's not today alone he is concerned. You understand?
Understood. I'm hearing you. And I took note of the data as well.
Right. Check it and you'll see the headline was Speaking Up for the Weak and Hopeless. So, Mr. Volney, if you're listening, maybe you forgot you wrote that letter. Okay?
All right. Thanks a lot. Okay, thanks for your comment. I'm just take a quick look at the time. All right, let's take let's cut more calls. Caller in the air. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Sheldon.
Good day to you.
I want to thank Mr. Jack Warner for the good work that he's doing and showing people.
Hello?
And showing people the right way in life. And what he doing today? Making sure everybody get their money right now when they work.
All right, that's it. Okay. All right, thank you very much. Let's continue. We'll take some more calls before the break. Call on here. Go ahead.
Sheldon, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Sheldon, first things first. Everybody's laying all the blame at the feet of the Attorney General. What happened to the DPP? When he knew very well that since 2008, Asian Steve case, the preliminary inquiry was finished, and he sat on his hands, and he knew that they were going to fall under that, and said nothing. So anybody blame he has to share in some of the blame as well. And I want to ask this Gerald Hines where his mouth was when under the PNM government, who was getting the CDAP contract, plus housing contract, and all the insurance for the government under Trinry, who owns Trinry. And Sheldon, I would like you to check into something for me, please. There's a nursing home in Woodbrook. Sheldon, taking advantage of the age. They are taking these people money, Sheldon, and they are not treating them kindly. Imagine you giving these people doubles to eat and breadfruit and thing in the night, and a 95-year-old man you are asking to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to have a cold bath, Sheldon, because the plumbing and thing is not working properly.
Wow.
I mean, Sheldon, it is very unfair. They are taking $5,000 a month from these people and treating them like that. No, Sheldon, that is not right. Something has to be done. And I would like, whoever is responsible for these homes to take a look into it and see what it is.
Well, you know, it's interesting. A few years ago, I actually did a series on Gael about these stuff at these homes. I'm glad you brought it to my attention, but can you text me the name of the home, please?
Sure, no problem. And the owner of the home as well. Have a good evening, Sheldon.
Thanks a lot. Before we continue the calls, I want to just go to a text I received here. Now, I'm very cautious of this here, but I would like the Minister of Health to look into this for me. And no, it is being alleged, right? It is alleged based on this text here. Very cautious with my words. And someone is saying here that is the second time that they actually witnessed the cleaners at the St. James Medical Complex stealing supplies from the washrooms and also filling detergents and cleaning liquids in their bottles to take home. Now, this is nothing new, but doesn't make it right. Right? So, again, I'll repeat myself. It's being alleged by someone texting here that the cleaners at the St. James Medical Complex stealing supplies from the washrooms and also filling detergents and cleaning liquids in their bottles to take home. All right, gosh, they are being paid a salary. Some of the washrooms didn't even have toilet paper or hand towels. So clearly, there's someone from what I'm gathering here who went to visit probably a patient, or the case may be. What do you expect when some staff members stealing it? So I'd ask the Minister of Health, even the, of course, any official in the ministry. So please contact me and follow up on this. I would be really greatly appreciated, because this is high-class nonsense. All right, let's continue with this. So for the cleaners who are probably guilty of doing this, well, tough. Caller on the air, go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon, Sheldon.
Good afternoon.
Laventille is here.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
All right, go ahead.
Sheldon, I want to send my congratulations to Mr. Jack Warner for giving us these jobs. Sheldon, thank you, Mr. Jack Warner. And the best thing, Sheldon, he put it in the army hands, so everybody eating our food for Christmas. Sheldon, we ain't have to go and pick up no gun. We ain't have to go by no bad boy. We ain't have to go nowhere, Sheldon. CNS, I love my government. Tell him that. I love him. Thank you, Sheldon.
I love my Trinity people, yes. Eat our food. I love it. Let's continue with your calls. You have time? Let's take about 2-3 more calls. Call on the air. Go ahead.
Sheldon, good afternoon.
Good day to you.
Good show always. Sheldon, you know what's happening? There is no post office in San Fernando.
There's no what?
There's no post office in San Fernando. If you have to go San Fernando, if you have to do anything, you have to go Port of Spain. I'm not Port of Spain, Princess Town. Another thing is, You know, if you have a post office box, last year, the beginning of January, we paid $340 for a little box. You know, this year, you have to start for this new year coming, the box went to $600 and something, you know, for a small box.
But let me interject for a second. Stay on the line. Just to check my memory here, wasn't there a TT Post in Carlton Center? Hello?
It's a long time it is not there.
Really?
They
No,
don't
I
have,
didn't
they
know. I
don't
didn't
have
know.
any
Okay.
again.
All right.
They had a little, they carry it to the corner of you know, up the coffee, like you're going to buy Macanini or anything, but it's not.
Yeah, familiar, yeah.
If you have anything to do, and especially now that if you have family away, there is no, so I don't know if you could assist.
Yeah, well, I'll have to find out, but thanks, Lemmy, because I didn't even know that. Thanks a lot.
Talk to the Prime Minister and see what she could do, because it's unfair. The small box is $600 and something you have to put out.
All right,
Okay,
thanks a
thank you. I
lot.
hope I'll hear when you help us.
Okay, thanks, because I really didn't know that. Thanks a lot for the information. I appreciate it. Let's take, I believe, Sapara line. Sapara, good evening. Welcome to the program. Hello, good evening. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, good day.
Sheldon, I have a problem that does not concern politics. Is that okay?
Sure. Go ahead, not a problem.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have retired, right?
Go ahead.
I have retired about 9 to 10 years ago, and I've been going to the courthouse to the Justice of the Peace to sign my pension form, okay, which I get every 6 months. And last week when I went to sign my form, I was told by the Justice of the Peace that that is not their job, and don't come back there anymore, to go to a private JP.
All right, do me a favor. Can you text me your name and information on our text line? Send the text to keyword news, NEWS. Leave a space, type in the information, and send it to 1020.
Okay, I'm seeing it on the television.
All
Thank
right,
you very
great.
much. Have a blessed day.
You too as well. I like what she said that because people are so politically driven in this country. Trust me, the platform is to deal with all matters, so have no fear. So whatever it's something personal, of course, we won't take that on the air. All right. Let me see. A couple of texts coming in here. Some people talking disability grant, but we addressed that yesterday. But again, let you know. Just to let you know that it will take effect in February. I know I said November. Is in terms of the rolling out of the program, it starts, I believe, in November in terms of certain areas, but the full, it will take full effect come February. I just want to make that very clear in terms of the increase with the disability grant and so forth, right? And even the food card as well takes effect in February, but they have an official launch, I believe, in November as to how the process is going to take place. Let me see. Well, I got the name of the home for the aged, and I actually know this home. I don't know the owner, but I know your name now. So I would like you to explain to the Division of Aging why it is you're feeding the elderly doubles in the morning, right? So, but you can call me afterwards if you so desire to defend yourself. Kirk Waite must hate that woman from Laventille for praising Jack. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're actually going to go to our headlines at 6 o'clock right here on Win TV. Stay tuned. Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News right here on Win TV. Of course, we go straight to our 6 o'clock headlines. Of course, thanks to very interesting callers earlier on during the course of the program. I wanted something quickly before we go to the story. I want to thank this person for sending this information. Now, you heard from one of the callers that they expressed some concern that there is no post office within San Fernando. Well, someone's saying here, and again, I actually forgot this. There's a TT Post at Gopal Lands Complex near Hilo in Marabella. All right. I'm not sure how many services are being offered there, but go check them out. All right. So for those in San Fernando who may not be aware at that point in time, there is one at Gopal Lands Complex near Hilo in Marabella. So if you're not aware, well, you are aware now. Go and check it out. Let me know what's happening with that. All right. So thanks to the individual who sent this text here. Well, in our first story, with the debates between Congress of the People members set to take place from tomorrow, the CUP called a conference today to address electoral concerns. Chairman of the Elections Commission, Valence Rambarat, urged the public to follow the debate and scrutinize its members. Rambarat strengthened the effectiveness of having these debates as part of the election process.
The concept of political debates. We feel strongly that it is good to put competing politicians on the same platform so that they can debate issues and reduce the incidence of political rhetoric and character assassination. We have 21 candidates who will be all present on one platform, presenting their campaign statements, debating, answering questions from the membership, answering questions from the media. And we feel at the end of the day, they will be well scrutinized so that the membership can make an informed decision about who they want to lead in this, for the Congress of the People for the next 2 years.
With this new format, the Commission hopes to change the way politics is viewed by the public, aspiring to take politics to the next level. Rambarat hopes that everyone can come on board, adding that since it was first used in the electing of the leader of the party, Prakash Ramadan, last year, no complaints have been made. The chairman stated also that for this campaigning period, they implemented a $5,000 cap for each candidate, though a much larger sum was put in for the debate series that commences October 18, 2012.
Small sum of $5,000. But that sum is important because the Congress of the People spends the money to host the campaign platforms, the debate series. We are spending as a party close to $200,000 to create the opportunity for candidates to be heard by the membership.
Well, the first three-part series of debates takes place at Gaston Courts in Chaguanas from 7:30 tomorrow evening. Other news, National Security Minister Jack Warner says he was afraid to go public with information that Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar been threatened in addition to being advised by the police to keep quiet. Warner said he wanted to avoid a similar fallout when he publicized death threats to opposition leader Dr. Keith Rowley.
There was no need for me to go public after the abuse I suffered from Mr. Rowley. I became very cautious, but the fact is that the police were on top of it, and we all agreed to keep it low, right, and not put it in public domain. But again, this is a very cynical society. They say you're playing politics. So I said to keep it low, and let us do what we have to do.
On Monday, a porter at the Piarco International Airport appeared in court charged with crime related to death threats made to Mrs. Persad-Bissessar. Warner said he had been briefed on the matter.
The guy did not call once, he called twice, and he made these threats, and they were able to intercept the phone call, and they were able to find out that he worked at the airport, and to work in a sensitive area as the airport, and to make those foolish kind of threats. One has to take it seriously. So I think the police are on it, and I don't want to say much more. It's in the court, and that's where I leave it.
Well, the file on the police incident involving MP Colin Partap still has not been submitted to the Director of Public Prosecution, Roger Gaspard, and Acting Commissioner of Police Stephen Williams is assuring there is nothing dubious about it. Williams had previously indicated that the file would have been submitted by Monday.
This way, I in fact indicated to the media that I am projecting by the 15th of October, I would be in a position to submit the file to the DPP. On the 15th of October, there was one outstanding document for my submission. I'm still awaiting on it, but I give the assurance by the end of the week that file will be with the DPP.
2 months ago, Partap was arrested by police near the Zen nightclub. He was later taken to the Belmont police station after it was alleged he refused to take a breathalyzer test. Partap was then fired as a junior minister by Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar. Williams, who spoke to reporters on Tuesday night, said he could not say more on the matter.
To explaining all the details in relation to the inquiry and all, because at the end of the day I'll be prosecuting the matter in the public domain, and that wouldn't be proper, right? So I've given the media that assurance, and that's what I'll be doing.
In some crime news now, 2 men have been found executed in a motor car in St. Joseph. Around 11:30 last night, a team of officers acting on information went to Farm Road and saw a green Mazda motor car parked with its engine running on a gravel track opposite the St. Joseph Secondary School. The 2 men were seated in the front passenger seat and the driver's seat with gunshot wounds to their heads. They were identified as brothers, 32-year-old Rudolph and 23-year-old Dimitri Chambers. Rudolph lived in Tobago, whilst Dimitri lived at Bedesi Street, St. Augustine. Investigators believe that the killer may have also been a passenger of the vehicle based on the angle of the wounds. Officers have not established a motive for this double homicide. Visiting the scene were Inspector Mark Maharaj, WPC Sergeant Mitchell, and officers from the Northern Division and Homicide Bureau. Murder now stands at 322. Well, in some news coming to hand here, police, have launched a manhunt for a rapist in West Trinidad as a teenager was raped last night in Glencoe. Reports stated the teenager was with her mother around 8:30 when they were alerted by barking dogs. At that point, a man had climbed down from the roof and entered through an open window. The man then tied up the mother and daughter and proceeded to rob them of their cellular phones and several other items. He proceeded to rape the young lady amidst their pleas not to hurt them, after which he left. The teenager is said to be the daughter of a well-known political activist of the area and also an appointee to a government establishment. Investigations are continuing by officers from the Western Division. Let's take a break. Our community news segment returns today, and we're actually recognizing World Poverty Eradication Day with this very special story when we return. Stay tuned. Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News right here on WIN TV. Well, we go now to our community news story for today. In recognition of World Eradication Poverty Day, of course, there are those who have been stricken with poverty for various reasons. Some basically may have had a pretty good life before, and by blink of an eye, things change. And that's what happened in this situation. And of course, some kind individuals from the corporation in which this person lives came to their assistance. Now, having a house is a comfortable feeling. Owning one puts you at ease. Well, an ease that we naturally start taking for granted after a while sometimes. But what happens when, in one stroke of fate, our ease and comfort is lost? This is what happened to pensioner Jaglal Ramlochan when part of his house burned down. We have more in this community news report from Daryl Hiralal.
Coziness and warmth that Jaglal Ramlochan felt for 20 plus years in the comfort of his own home, built from his sweat and tears, all ended one night 3 months ago. The home that he shared with his wife at Sanka Trees, St. Croix Road, Princestown, partially burned down one night. Ramlochan was asleep with his wife in the downstairs portion of the home when the upstairs caught fire.
Well, it's kind of hard, but I have no choice. I have to use it. I had to use it as I cannot do nothing again. I had to use what I have.
But sometimes tragedy has a way of turning around when you least expect. And thankfully for Ramlochan, the local government councillor for the area, along with the St. Croix Improvement Committee, were there to do just that. The councillor, Alvin Lachman, was able through the Self-Help Commission to get a $15,000 grant for Ramlochan to start rebuilding.
Well, the main focus in the area is about community empowerment, about building the community. We try to show the people that local government representation is not mainly about a road or a box drain or so. It goes more than that.
And more help is on the way, as Ramlochan's home is to be rewired and a new toilet built. And Primati Maraj, head of the Improvement Committee, takes pride in helping the people of the area.
We try to assist them because they don't know what it have outside there for them. So we're here to educate them on it because they're less fortunate than everybody else.
So, with a little help, the Ramlochan family can now get back to the comfort and ease that fire robbed them of 3 months ago. Daryl Hirulal for 7 Eyewitness News.
The power of hope and prayer. When we come back, lots more on 7 Eyewitness News. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News. I'm joined by my colleague, Ms. Michelle Michael, to give us an update on the launch of the Hoop for Life program. She just came in, so I won't keep her too long. No, she's going to do her story. Tell us exactly, how was the launch this evening? Exactly what did both the Minister of National Security and the Minister of Sport had to say about the launch? Finally, it's on the way.
Well, good afternoon, Sheldon. Good afternoon, viewers. It was a very successful launch. They had not only special guests, but a lot of residents from the Laventille area showing up. Minister Warner explained that they would have 720 participants who would be receiving a stipend of $250 per week, all in their efforts to keep crime at a minimal and also to keep people off the streets. He also, I took some notes while I was there. He explained that it's a great day not only for Laventille, not only for St. Barb's, but the entire country at large in this initiative. He said that this Hoop of Life is a hope for life for the rest of the community. He explained that children who are born into a poor home don't necessarily have to be poor for the rest of their lives. This program wouldn't only promote sport and eradicate crime, which is their overall effort, but it is also something for talent identification. It's an opportunity for advancement. It'll make the individual well-rounded in the sense that you learn about punctuality, you learn about socializations, you make links and friendships with people from other parts of the country.
So basically, there are going to be a lot of spin-offs after this Hoop for Life program.
That's their hoop.
Not just about just the basketball concept.
That's the general hope. It's not only the Ministry of National Security, it's also the Ministry of Sports, the Ministry of Housing, the Ministry of Food Production, the Ministry, several ministries that came together for this initiative.
Nice. Now, speaking of sport, the Minister of Sport was there, and I heard that he had a lot to say as well.
He did.
Just give us a brief, because I know this was something that he felt very passionate about. And when they weren't guests on the program, they spoke about since a few months ago. It's here. What was his take on the launch today?
Well, Minister Arnold Roberts explained that crime is everybody's business. It's everyone in the country has been affected by crime in some way or the other, and he explained that he would like everybody in the country this is a time for the poor man to eat a food. Where
this eat a food thing, it was earlier on, my good friend from Laventille, Nicola, eat a food. GW and Blaze, well, they take all the line. Go ahead.
He also explained that that it is a chance for not only those who were born into opportunities, but for everyone to get an opportunity to have a piece of the pie of Trinidad and Tobago. It's also an initiative where, as I said, he stressed highly on the socialization aspect of this initiative to bring youths from various parts of the country together, because this initiative is mainly about the areas that have been plagued with crime more than the others. As I said before, it'll have 720 participants receiving a stipend of $250 per week.
It's an ongoing program. There'll be different cycles and stuff like that.
It's a program in the first phase for a 6-month period. So it's as though you have a sort of employment, you have something to wake up and do. And not only would you be playing basketball, but they also have other initiatives to add on as the time go along. Minister Warner also made the point that once a person involved in the program is detained, he will automatically be thrown out of the program.
He made that point as well today.
Regardless of if you were charged or not, once you were detained, out the program you go.
Wow, once you're detained?
Yes. And that's
beyond your P's and Q's. He made some point in there as well in terms of the employment for people from Laventille and the environment as well. I will get you up the set now to get your stories and get cracking. Thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Give us an update on the Hoop for Life launch. When we come back, lots more on 7 Eyewitness News. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News right here on WIN TV. Thank you for staying with us. Of course, we're actually recently joined by Ms. Michelle Michael, our sports reporter, giving us an update on the Hoop for Life program, which was officially launched today. And you heard it right there where the minister, from what she said, stated that anyone detained, and hear carefully, not necessarily, basically convicted, but detained for a crime, they will automatically be removed from the program. So to all the men and women out there, please be on your P's and Q's. Try and benefit as much as you can from the program. It's an ongoing program in terms of, but it's a cycle. So therefore, after a 6-month cycle, to continue like that. But again, a lot to benefit from this program. So again, all the best to the Ministry of National Security and the Ministry of Sport and all the other ministries that are involved in this project. Let's go now to our first of two this day in history. First one, it's about Al Capone. Yes, when I say that name, you have to say it with a bit of a ring. Al Capone. Yeah. On this day in 1931, notorious gangster Al Capone is sentenced to 11 years in prison. His arrest signaled the downfall of one of the most wanted gangs of the 1920s and 1930s. Alphonse Gabriel Capone was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1899 to Italian immigrants. He was expelled from school and consequently joined the gang. Capone was at the top of the FBI's most wanted list by 1930, yet he avoided arrest by bribing city officials and intimidating witnesses. He was feared as Chicago's crime kingpin, wiping out competitors through slayings, including the infamous St. Valentine's Day Massacre of 1929. Among his enemies was federal agent Elliot Ness, who refused to be bribed by Capone. Ness and his men tried with much difficulty to capture Capone and finally stuck him with tax evasion charges in 1931. He was released early on good behavior after spending his final year in the prison hospital for treatment of syphilis. He was plagued by health problems for the rest of his life and died at the age of 48 in 1947. Remember, I think it was the days of TTT. They had a series with Al Capone, and I didn't miss not an episode. I really enjoyed that series. Let's take a break. When we come back, it's our special newsmaker that focuses, of course, around the much anticipated COP internal elections. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Nissan plans to sell cars controlled by steer-by-wire technology within a year. The innovation works by sending electronic signals from the steering wheel to a computerized unit that then controls the movement of the tires, rather than using mechanical links. The technology is commonly used in airplanes, but the Japanese firm said it would be the first to apply it to mass-produced cars. However, it might need to overcome motorist safety concerns. Although the vehicles would still be controlled by a human, one analyst said the development could eventually be incorporated into driverless cars. Nissan said that users would benefit from an improved driving experience since their intentions would be transmitted to the wheels faster than by using a hydraulic and mechanical system. In addition, it suggested that the development would insulate motorists from disturbances caused by unnecessary feedback. For example, even on a road surface with minor ridges or furrows, the driver no longer has to grip the steering wheel tightly and make detailed adjustments, so traveling on the intended path becomes easier. Although some car buyers may be wary about the idea of putting their lives in the hands of a computer system after other related efforts proved problematic. Nissan appears to have borne these issues in mind by deciding to install a backup clutch system in its steer-by-wire vehicles to link up their steering wheels and tires in the event of a problem. I'm Keisha Charles, and that was your Tech Minute on the 7 Eyewitness News.
Very interesting indeed. Of course, thanks Keisha Charles for bringing us our Tech Minute today. Now, we're going to take you now to the, of course, newsmakers surrounding the COP elections. Now, this is very important for the entire country, but also particularly for members of the COP to pay close attention to, basically speaking about the rules and regulations, the entire electoral process for the elections. Again, 3 heated nights of debates coming up very soon. And I mentioned it's election fever, and it's going to get pretty heated because, as you know, there have been some internal rumblings in the COP, which they are hoping to pacify and put to rest, more or less, after the elections is passed. So this time, let's go to a special newsmaker surrounding the COP internal elections.
Today's press conference was called to alert the national community and all interest groups and civic-minded groups and political parties in Trinidad and Tobago to some of the key concepts of the elections, the internal elections of the Congress of the People. we feel strongly that the national community should buy into these concepts because it could well determine the way we campaign or conduct political campaigns in Trinidad and Tobago in the near future. Some of the concepts we have in our campaign are the concept of political debates. We feel strongly that it is good to put competing politicians on the same platform so that they can debate issues and reduce the incidence of political rhetoric and character assassination. We feel that the electorate looking on will benefit, will be able to be persuaded, will be able to hear from our politicians on issues that are important to the population. We feel strongly that when the electorate could pose questions that they want answers for, then the question of political debates is important. We feel strongly that the interest groups out there should begin to call for debates amongst our politicians, whether it be in internal elections in the various political parties or for local government elections and general elections. Another key concept in our elections is the concept of campaign finance. We have a campaign cap imposed on all our candidates. It's a small sum of $5,000. But that sum is important because the Congress of the People spends the money to host the campaign platforms, the debate series. We are spending as a party close to $200,000 to create the opportunity for candidates to be heard by the membership. And if you take that forward, then in years to come, the national budget may be able to cater for political campaign funds so that no longer would political parties be dependent on financiers and lobbyists and special interest groups. Another key concept of our elections in the Congress of the People is our rules. We have stringent rules to guide the conduct of candidates in these elections. And we are monitoring how they campaign in the media, how they campaign on the ground, and we are entertaining all complaints and dealing with them in a speedy manner. This Elections Commission can disqualify any candidate who breaches the rules that we have advertised in this campaign. And we feel strongly that the national community should follow these debates and this election because it is a model which we want to put forward for the conduct of political campaigns in the future. We have 21 candidates who will be all present on one platform, presenting their campaign statements, debating, answering questions from the membership, answering questions from the media. And we feel at the end of the day, they will be well scrutinized so that the membership can make an informed decision about who they want to lead for the Congress of the People for the next 2 years. That is why we chose the team, moving to the next level. It is not just about moving the party to the next level, but it is about moving the politics and the way politicians behave and the way the public view politicians, moving everything to a new level. And so we ask the national community to come on board. We ask political parties, and I want to say this. During the last United National Congress internal elections, the UNC requested a copy of our rules, and we made the rules available to them because we feel that we have to be developmental in the role we play to improve the way elections are conducted. And I want to make this call that if any request comes from any other political party or similar organization, we will be available to help. We want to help grow the way the population view politicians. okay? And we want to take it to the next level. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to add, this innovative mechanism that the chairman referred to a while ago was in fact tried and tested in July of last year during the elections of the political leader. And as far as we are concerned, it was well accepted, and a lot of people have been praising the move that we made. And that is why, as the chairman referred to a while ago, other people have declared their interest in that mechanism.
What we've done is to ensure that the rules are not punitive, but rather we've presented the rules in a developmental way. And we work together with the candidates. So if there are minor breaches, we deal with it. We may hit them a knock on the wrist. But other than that, we've not had to deal with any major complaints. But as we go along and we test and keep testing and tweaking the system, we have problems and we deal with them. I don't have on record any of the decisions being challenged. The results will be a bit later than the political leaders' election. By 7 p.m. we had the political leaders' results in. In these elections, we have 8 posts to be contested, and we expect there to be some delay in the counting of the votes. And so we have a time of 8 p.m. this time for the release of the results. And may I add that when last we spoke to the media, we had announced the results center at Gaston Court in Chaguanas. That has now been changed to Plaza de Montrose, right there in Chaguanas.
Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News in the last of just about close to 7 o'clock, about quarter to the hour. So let's go now to our second This Day in History. It's all about music at this time. Save the Last Dance for Me hits #1. Very, very popular song from the 60s. On this day in 1960, R&B legends The Drifters earned a #1 pop hit with Save the Last Dance for Me. From 1953 to 1956, the original lineup of The Drifters established themselves as R&B giants. Considering the group's track record, it was no surprise that voters selected The Drifters to go alongside the Beatles, the Beach Boys, and Bob Dylan in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The Drifters changed singers several times, but this did not hinder their success. Famous songs from this group include Money Honey, There Goes My Baby, This Magic Moment, and the song that skyrocketed Billboard charts on this day, Save the Last Dance for Me. In 1964, they again made #1 with Under the Boardwalk. Just feeling a bit silly this evening. Yes, let's continue with the news at this time. Our second This Day in History. Yes, I know plenty of old school music, don't get it twisted. Lots. Well, I'm just going to read for you a press release, some serious note. A press release that actually just came in from the Communication Workers Union, over the TSTT leak. Now I'm reading the release as it came, so here it goes. The Communication Workers Union has noted with concern an article in the Sunday Guardian. TSTT leak, reporters' phone records revealed to CDA official. In response to that article, we have also noted a statement from TSTT and the public pronouncements made by the Minister of Public Utilities, Nizam Bash. As a responsible, progressive working-class organization, we do not condone any illegal acts and have all respect for the freedom of the press. We, however, would not stand idly by and allow the management of TSTT and the Minister of Public Utilities to make vile threats of intended disciplinary action against bargaining unit staff that we represent. We respect the rule of law and the principle of natural justice, but will not support any witch hunt to find a scapegoat, whilst this alleged act may have had the support of authorization of political appointees who are seeking to entrench themselves in higher positions or even feather their nest in the CDA. Strong allegations there. We urge the minister to exercise his jurisdiction over the board of directors and ensure that there is no link between the chairman of the board of directors, a former senior manager at the CDA, interesting, and senior executive managers of TSTT in this current imbroglio. With respect to any investigation pertaining to bargaining unit employees at TSTT, we urge the management of TSTT to involve the CWU as a key stakeholder in TSTT in such investigation and to make the results of this investigation public, to protect the integrity of the bargaining unit employees and the company. Nothing less than an open and transparent investigation into this matter would suffice. Additionally, we need to make mention of the silence and failure of the Minister of Public Utilities, Nizam Bash, to acknowledge and meet and treat with the CWU with dispatch to introduce himself as the Minister of Public Utilities and to address matters of mutual concern. In the same vibrant manner, he responded and pronounced on a matter that reeks of political espionage. In particular, we refer to the outstanding negotiations for the period January 2008 to December 2010. As such, we can only deduce that his concern for TSTT bargaining unit employees and employees in general is concentrated to who must be held accountable and disciplined based on media reports about apparent political espionage regarding media reporters' telephone records. And again, so they are calling on the minister to meet with them. They're basically stating that there was an urgency to respond to this and talk about disciplinary action. But as stated here, let me just read over this line again. Additionally, we need to make mention of the silence and failure of the minister to acknowledge and meet and treat with the CWU with dispatch to introduce himself as Minister of Public Utilities. So in stating, basically, he has not met with them, but was quick to respond to this issue, and they are calling on him to address all issues in the same manner. All right, so just want to give you that press release right here on 7 Eyewitness News before we come to the end of the program. All right, as well, an update from the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. Let me just get a document quickly here. All right, now it's an update on the B115 bridge, Essen Erin Road. Now, the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure wishes to advise the public that emergency works on the bridge commenced on Tuesday, October 16th at approximately 1 p.m. to restore vehicular access to the SS Erin Road. The strategy was to remove the failed bridge and install two 90-foot-long Bailey bridges along the river channel. Progress was impeded because the following utilities had to be removed prior to demolishing and removing the failed bridge deck: WASA lines that were attached to the bridge structure, overhead flow lines, and overhead TN-Tech lines. Now, these utilities were removed by late Tuesday evening, and preparation of a platform for the crane to remove the deck began. This exercise was completed at around 4 a.m. today, Wednesday, 17th October 2012. Concurrent with this exercise, 2 Bailey bridges were mobilized from the ministry's compound at Woodford Lodge in Chaguanas. One of the 2 Bailey bridges has been assembled and is currently being lifted in position by the crane. The assembly of the 2nd Bailey bridge would commence thereafter. Installation of the 2nd Bailey bridge is expected to occur tonight. Vehicular access is expected to be restored tomorrow morning. So you heard it first here, right here on 7 Eyewitness News. When we come back from the break, we're going to wrap up our program this evening. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The international effort to eliminate tuberculosis is in real danger, according to the World Health Organization. Its latest figures showed there were 8.7 million new cases in 2011 and 1.4 million deaths. It warned of persistently slow progress in treating tuberculosis, which is resistant to antibiotics. The TB Alliance said resistant tuberculosis was one of the most ominous global health threats. Tuberculosis is a bacterial infection that mainly affects the lungs but can be found elsewhere in the body. Dr. Mario Raviglione from the WHO said that over 20 million lives had been saved in the past 17 years as a result of international commitments to tackle tuberculosis. However, he warned the momentum to break the disease is in real danger. We are now at a crossroad between TB elimination within our lifetime and millions more of TB deaths. The WHO said there was a massive funding gap for treating the disease in low and middle income countries, which threatens to hold back care. The report also highlighted problems treating people with multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. Many researchers say that new vaccines will be the only long-term solution to tuberculosis. Dr. Ann Ginsberg, vice president of an organization working on vaccines, said tuberculosis was truly raging in some parts of the world where all aspects of society are touched by the disease. And that was your health capsule on the 7 Eyewitness News.
Of course, our health capsule and Tech Minute every day right here on 7 Eyewitness News. Thanks to Keisha Charles Prince, our Tech Minute. And TB has always been a major concern. I remember it is a very dangerous, of course, infection. And the thing is, as a healthcare professional, have to be very, very, very particular how you actually treat with tuberculosis patients. And of course, the environment must be a very sensitive one, of course, of keeping them isolated and so forth, as they try to deal with containing the infection. I've had my experiences with that as a paramedic, and it really could be a very scary thing. But of course, with advances like these, trying to deal with TB, of course, make it safe for everyone, both the patient and the healthcare provider. Just a quick reminder before we come to the end of our program. Remember, this Saturday, our open house from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I keep stressing the time because I want people to come within that window, because it's going to be a very long day for me. Of course, that is how much time I have on that day to deal with, how many issues or concerns that are brought to my attention. So from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Saturday, bring your documents right here at Win TV, our third open house and our last one for 2012. Well, from the end of our program, thank you very much. Come up next at 7 o'clock. We have our evening edition news with Samantha Ratton. I'm Sheldon Yearwood. Be good to yourself and God bless. Take care.